of this question is actually quite offensive, though it's a popular assumption, which is that illegal aliens somehow don't have free will.
Not what I'm saying. I'm saying that people of color are more likely to be convicted of crimes unfairly than white people.
They're more likely to commit certain crimes, that's true. I don't think that's because of their race, I think it's because free speech.
Yes, because of the reasons
You think that speech is
about.
violence?
No, I think that
that's what that sign says.
The conversation that you're having is oppressive.
So I am oppressing people by what I'm doing.
Speech can be violent. What you are saying contributes to systemic racism in this country. It means that my students of color are pulled over and accused of stealing a car when they did not.
I'm not pulling anybody over for stealing any cars. This is not speech. Let me say it again. Violence is not speech. Let me say it for all the professors in the room. Violence is not speech. Speech is not.
All right, so this is one of those moments where you literally watch someone's entire worldview collapse in real time. Michael Knowles is at a university talking about illegal immigration statistics. Just basic facts, right? And this professor, this actual faculty member at a taxpayer-funded institution, stands up and tells him that his speech is violence. Like, she literally says it. And then watch what happens when Michael asks her to define violence. I'm not going to spoil it, but dude, this is the problem with our universities right now. These are the people teaching your kids. These are the people molding the next generation. And they genuinely cannot tell the difference between words and actual physical violence. This gets absolutely wild. Let's get into it.
Hello. You cited a list of statistics in your talk which you claim support the idea that illegal immigrants are dangerous or criminals.
I cited a number of statistics that show that they commit federal crimes at a significantly higher rate than native-born Americans. Yeah.
Okay. So what role do you think that structural racism and inherent bias has to play in those statistics?
I don't think that the people who enter this country illegally are forced to do so by some sort of systemic racism. There's no systemic American racist going down to El Salvador and saying, you better get up and sneak into the United States. And there's nobody in the United States who forces people who come here illegally to commit crimes. I think the premise of this question is actually quite offensive, though it's a popular assumption, which is that illegal aliens somehow don't have free will. It's the assumption that illegal aliens are somehow morally uneducated. They have no sense of right and wrong. They have no ability to control their emotions and their impulses. This is obviously profoundly racist and not true. We have free will. We have the ability to do what we want to do. This is why, by the way, the majority of Hispanic people in the United States and Hispanic voters oppose illegal immigration. The races are exactly the same. The ethnicity is exactly the same. The question of crime is different because race does not determine your criminality.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that people of color are more likely to be convicted of crimes unfairly than white people.
They're more likely to commit certain crimes, that's true. I don't think that's because of their race. I think it's because of aspects of their free will and perhaps of culture.
That's not true. I'm talking about...
That is true. I mean, what I just said is true.
I'm not quite sure where you're getting your statistics from, and you choose
from
to
the federal government.
You choose to interpret
from
them
the
in your...
Bureau of Justice Statistics and Department of Homeland Security.
Can I talk? Is that
well,
okay?
you said you didn't know where I got my statistics from, and I'm telling you where I get them from.
Well, it would have been nice if you could have let me finish my sentence. Anyway,
I was answering your question.
You are using your statistics for your own political agenda, and that's your prerogative.
I'm citing statistics because they're true.
I'm talking about the fact that I'm faculty here. I also support our protester in the back.
What do you support specifically? Do you think that anti-immigrant rhetoric is violent free speech?
Yes, because of the reasons
you think that speech is violence?
No, I think that
that's what that sign says.
The conversation that you're having is oppressive.
So I am oppressing people by what I'm doing. So I am exerting violence on people by my speech. That's what the sign says, and that's what you just said.
It contributes to...
And the protester is saying that's exactly what I'm doing, and she's saying that's exactly what her sign means. So that means that you, a faculty member at an American public university, paid for by taxpayer dollars, are conflating speech with violence.
Yes. Speech can be violent. What you are saying contributes to systemic racism in this country. It means that my students of colour are pulled over and accused of stealing a car when they did not.
I'm not pulling anybody over for stealing
I'm
any
not
cars.
saying that you
I see many
personally
people
did.
of many different races in this room. They all seem to be doing just fine. I don't think any of them have felt violence because they listened to a lecture on basic facts about our immigration system. The question was, have I asked people in this room if they've felt as though some violence has been committed on them?
Okay, so I need you to understand what just happened here, because this is so important. This woman, who is a professor, by the way, a faculty member, she stood up, interrupted his talk, and said that Michael's speech about immigration statistics is violence. She said it contributes to systemic racism. She said it's oppressive. And when Michael pushed back and said, "So you think speech is violence?" she said, yes. She actually said yes. Like, this is a person who has been in academia for 8 years. She's teaching students, and she cannot grasp the most fundamental principle of liberal education, that ideas and violence are not the same thing. Speech and violence are not the same thing. This should be common sense, but it's not anymore. Not in these institutions. And look at how Michael handles this. He doesn't just disagree with her. He systematically dismantles her entire argument. He points out that the protester in the back is literally holding a sign that says anti-immigrant rhetoric is violent free speech. And when he asks the professor if she supports that, she says yes. She walks right into it. And then Michael forces her to defend the idea that his words, his lecture about statistics from the Bureau of Justice and Department of Homeland Security, are somehow committing violence on people in that room. Here's what kills me about this. The left has been doing this for years now. They've been expanding the definition of violence to include anything that makes them uncomfortable. Misgendering someone? Violence. Disagreeing with their politics? Violence. Presenting statistics they don't like? Violence. It's all violence now. And do you know why they do this? Because if speech is violence, then they can justify shutting it down. They can justify deplatforming people. They can justify censorship. Because you don't tolerate violence, right? So if they can convince people that words are violence, they can silence anyone they want. And this woman, dude, she's a perfect example of the grift. She's been in the academic system for 8 years. She knows how to play the game. She knows what buzzwords to use. Structural racism, inherent bias, systemic oppression. She throws them all out there because that's what gets you tenure. That's what gets you funding. That's what keeps you employed in these woke universities. She's not stupid. She's just playing to her audience. But Michael doesn't let her get away with it. He calls her out directly. He says, if you can't understand the difference between speech and violence, you have no business educating anyone. And he's absolutely right. Like, how are you supposed to teach critical thinking when you can't even define basic terms? How are you supposed to prepare students for the real world when you're telling them that words can hurt them physically? And notice how she tries to pivot. She says, I've been to art school for 8 years. I understand liberal arts extremely well. And Michael just shuts that down immediately. He says, no, you don't, because you can demonstrate that you don't by the things you're saying right now. That's not arrogance. That's just facts. I know you guys don't need me to explain why this matters, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is happening at universities all over the country. Faculty members like this woman are teaching your kids that feelings are facts, that discomfort is trauma, that disagreement is violence. And they're raising an entire generation that cannot handle dissent, cannot handle debate, cannot function in a free society. Michael Knowles gets it. He understands that if we lose the ability to have these conversations, if we lose the distinction between ideas and violence, we lose everything. We lose free speech. We lose academic freedom. We lose the foundation of Western civilization. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Have you seen this kind of thing at your university? Have you had professors pull this same move? Drop your thoughts below.
Asked because no violence has been committed on you. Because violence is not a subjective feeling. Violence is an objective fact. I can objectively gauge whether or not someone has become violent. The other day, I was at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Some protester attacked me with some weird chemical. That was an objective act of violence. But somebody disagreeing with me, such as some people in this room are doing, are not committing violence on me. And I would say to you, as a faculty member at a taxpayer-funded university, this is the foundation of liberal education. If you cannot understand that there is a difference between speech and violence, you don't understand anything that undergirds the liberal arts or liberal education. And that is a real shame. And I say this with all respect and with great distress for our universities. If our teachers don't understand the difference between ideas and violence, between speech and violence, then they are in no position to educate the next generation of Americans.
I've been to art school for 8 years. I understand liberal arts extremely well. I am an artist, and I fully
I don't think you do. I'm sure you've been to art school for 8 years, but you do not understand the liberal arts.
holding up a sign which says disrupting speech is fascism. You are
No, the sign says that one, disrupting speech.
Yeah.
But yes,
you understand?
Yes,
you
these people who are yelling are disrupting my speech, and I agree, it's fascism.
You're interrupting me, and I think that you need to look up violence in the dictionary or expand your idea of violence.
Hold on, I'll look it up right now. Hold on a second. Let me look it up. Let's see. Violence definition. Hold on. Violence definition. So you're saying that violence can be speech. Oh, my Wi-Fi went out. That's too bad. I'll look it up later. I'll post it on my Twitter. Violence is not speech. Let me say it again. Violence is not speech. Let me say it for all the professors in the room. Violence is not speech. Speech is not violence.
All right, so let's talk about what just happened here, because Michael Knowles absolutely demolished this woman. Like, there's no other way to put it. She walked into that conversation thinking she was going to do some big moral grandstanding, call him out for being racist or whatever, and he systematically destroyed every single point she tried to make. First, she tried to say his statistics were biased. He cited the federal government, Bureau of Justice Statistics, Department of Homeland Security. These aren't right-wing think tanks. These are government agencies. And when she couldn't refute the data, she pivoted to, well, you're using them for your political agenda. Yeah, no kidding. He's using facts to support his argument. That's how debates work. Then she tried to say illegal immigrants are victims of systemic racism, and that's why they commit crimes. And Michael shut that down brilliantly. He said, you're essentially arguing that these people have no free will, that they can't control themselves, that they're somehow morally inferior. And he pointed out that that's the actual racist position, because it assumes people of certain backgrounds can't be held to the same standards as everyone else. And then we get to the big moment. She says, speech is violence, and Michael forces her to defend that position in front of a room full of students. He makes her own it. He doesn't let her weasel out of it. And when she doubles down, he delivers the kill shot. If you can't tell the difference between speech and violence, you have no business teaching anyone. That's the difference between someone like Michael Knowles and these academic grifters. Michael actually believes in something. He's willing to defend it. He doesn't hide behind buzzwords or redefine terms to suit his argument. He takes them on directly. And look, both sides have grifters, right? But the left has completely taken over our institutions. And people like this woman are the reason why. They're not educating students, they're indoctrinating them. They're teaching them that facts are oppressive, that logic is a tool of white supremacy, that speech they disagree with is literal violence. It's insane. This is why we need more people like Michael Knowles going to these universities and having these conversations. Because somebody has to push back. Somebody has to say, no, you're wrong, and here's why. And when you watch this video, you can see exactly why the left hates him so much. Because he's effective. He doesn't yell, he doesn't insult. He just methodically breaks down their arguments until there's nothing left. So here's my question for you. Do you think faculty members who believe speech is violence should be allowed to teach at taxpayer-funded universities? Because I don't. And I think most Americans don't either. But we keep funding these institutions anyway. Drop your thoughts in the comments. That's what we do here at MB. We break down these moments. We call out the grift. We defend common sense. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here, you know the deal. Share this with someone who needs to see it. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.